Welcome to From the Pages, where we step back in time, not just to remember wrestling history, but to experience it through the magazines that captured it in real time. Today's journey brings us to the December 2000 issue of Wrestling World, Volume 40, number 12, Terra, a publication that doesn't just reflect the moment, but wrestles with it. The year is ending, the century is closing, and the business is being pulled in every direction. Right off the bat, this issue sets its tone with one of the most intense raw profiles we've seen in a long time. An in-depth look at Vampiro, the punk rock outcast turned cult hero. And we learned that Vampiro, real name Ian Hodgkinson, was no overnight sensation. His story starts in the gutters of Los Angeles, where he lived as a teen, homeless and barely scraping by. He took beatings from the world and from himself, training under Abdullah the Butcher, and eventually finding salvation, oddly enough, in Mexico City. There he became El Vampiro Canadiense, a flamboyant, violent, unpredictable phenom who captivated Mexican fans by the thousands. His feud with Conan is described with real venom, not as a storyline rivalry, but a deeply personal war that bled from the ring into real life. Conan, jealous of Vampiro's rise, reportedly blackballed him from opportunities. Vampiro never one to play nice, refused to conform. By the time he made it to WCW, he was already battle-tested and bruised and still ready to make noise. This article gives us the chaos, the conflict, and the charisma that made Vampiro more than just a sideshow. Next, we turn the page to Wrestling World's top 20 heavyweight champions of all time, a countdown feature that's sure to spark debate. Starting at number 20 with The Rock, who had only recently captured the public's imagination, list is bold, opinionated, and rooted in impact, not just title reigns. Randy Savage clocks in, as does Dusty Rhodes, Bob Backlund, and Harley Race. But it's the top 5 that anchor the piece. Vern Gagne at number 5, Lou Thez at 4, Ric Flair in 3rd, Bruno Sammartino at number 2, and yes, Hulk Hogan at number 1. Whether you agree or not, the list reflects both the tradition and spectacle that shaped the modern heavyweight legacy. We also get a batch of exclusive interviews, each one offering a different flavor of the wrestling world at the millennium's edge. Chris Jericho, fresh off his WWF debut, reflects on making the leap from WCW to the big leagues, his thoughts on creative freedom and why he felt held back in his previous role. He's cocky, smart, and refreshingly honest. Then there's 3, count, the green tights wearing, dance loving WCW boy band trio. The piece acknowledges their gimmick as both parody and platform. In their own words, they talk about heat from fans, the absurdity of their characters, and how they were all trained wrestlers first, performers second. It's a rare look into how comedy gimmicks don't always mean comedy attitudes behind the curtain. And then we come to a true legend, Afa the Wild Samoan. His interview doesn't just dwell on his in-ring legacy, but focuses on his work as a trainer and mentor. He talks about the Anoa'i family's dynasty, how he saw potential in younger cousins, nephews, sons, and helped shape names like Rikishi, The Rock, and Rosie. You get the sense Afa sees himself as a steward of tradition, guarding the soul of Samoan wrestling. As we flip further, we arrive at the editor's page, a heartfelt, grounded editorial from Mike Greenblatt. He shares childhood memories of watching wrestling on a black and white TV, booing heels with his grandfather, and despising Vince McMahon Jr. for replacing Ray Morgan as announcer. It's not bitterness, it's love. Greenblatt writes from the place all longtime fans eventually reach. Nostalgic, but hopeful. He talks about today's stars as if he's still a fan first, and for readers, that's the tone that hits home. The extreme pictorial section gets gritty. We're taken inside the worlds of CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling, and XPW, Extreme Pro Wrestling, 2 underground promotions taking the hardcore crown from ECW's dying grip. Photographs and blurbs highlight barbed wire, light tubes, and real blood. Names like Nick Gage and The Messiah get attention. XPW's West Coast ECW aesthetic is both praised and questioned. These are not polished companies. They're dangerous, raw, and unfiltered. But in this era, they felt like the real rebels. We also get a Canadian report, which takes a quick but respectful look at talent rising through the Canadian independent scene. There's not much flash here, just quiet respect for technique, training, and grassroots growth. Visual fans aren't forgotten either. A spread of full-page posters includes Goldberg mid-roar, Scott Steiner at his most jacked, Shane Douglas looking defiant, and Ric Flair in pure nature boy regalia. It's the kind of content designed to be torn out and pinned on bedroom walls. There's a fun little retrospective titled The Way They Were, Kane Unmasked, diving into Glenn Jacobs' pre-Kane days and showcasing early gimmicks. It's brief, but it's a nice nod to the layers behind the monster. And of course, no vintage magazine would be complete without the reader's ballot, where fans voted on favorite wrestlers, feuds, and promotions, as well as a classified section advertising bootleg tapes, indie events, and shoot interviews on VHS. The community was real, and you could feel it in every column inch. This wasn't a fluff piece. It was a grounded, well-edited, diverse look at pro wrestling just months before the industry changed forever. No fantasy booking, no empty hype, just real voices, real photos, and real insight. Wrestling World, December 2000, is proof that the printed page could still hit harder than a chair shot. So if you appreciate this, dive into the true fabric of pro wrestling history, then hit like, share with a friend, and subscribe. Because here at From the Pages, we don't invent nostalgia. We dust it off and give it a mic.